Good afternoon, folks. This is Captain Terry Hestilow, United States Army retired. Emphasis on retired. I do not speak for the Department of Defense. I do not speak for the Department of the Army. But I do speak for patriotic Americans that care about the Constitution of the United States of America. I'm not going to take very much of your time this afternoon, but for this afternoon brief here on May the 19th, 2016, I want to address a couple of issues that I think are terribly important. And they both have to do with the Constitution of the United States of America. Yesterday, Donald Trump announced that he had selected 11 individuals with backgrounds that you and I can check to know whether or not they have a consistent record of being conservatives. And he said he would choose from these 11 or people of like character that he would nominate to be Supreme Court justices. Well, let me tell you something. We have one Constitution and we have one nation, and the one Constitution preserves the one nation. People come from all over the world. I went to Vietnam and I went to Afghanistan. In fact, I had to force the Army almost to take me to Afghanistan. I was 55 years old when I first set foot on the ground in Afghanistan. But I had to almost force the Army to let me go. But it was important to me because there are people that want to destroy our way of life. Had that not been the case, I don't think the United States government would have sent me to fight a war against the communists in Vietnam and against the Islamic terrorists and the Taliban in Afghanistan. So when it comes to the Constitution and my oath of office as an officer of the United States Army, I take that very seriously. Let me say something else pertaining to that oath of office. We have people that want to come into the United States from all over the world. Why? Because we have the best way of life, the most freedoms of anybody in the world. We generally don't have a lot of people having their heads cut off in the street because they believe one way or the other. People are trying desperately to get into this place. You know why they want to do that? Is because of the freedoms that we have. You know where we get those freedoms? Don't ask a public school student because they won't have a clue. They weren't taught. In fact, teachers, if you didn't teach them, you're part of the problem. But students won't get this. The Constitution is the very basis for the freedoms that we enjoy. And we have tried to share our way of life to those who would like to try to implement those principles at home. But my oath of office says that I swear to uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Now, it ought to just be understandable that if they put in foreign and domestic, they said they put that in the oath because there at least was the potential that we would have domestic enemies of our Constitution. And my friends, we do have domestic enemies of our Constitution. They're called Democrats. They're called Democrats, they're called progressives, they're called utopians. But they all fall under Marxist socialism, and we've got two of them running for president right now, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. And their goal in life is to follow in the footsteps of Barack Obama to destroy and overthrow the Constitution because they hate the United States of America. Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders and Bill Clinton, back when we were all young, they decided to side with communism. Hillary Clinton is a big fan and follower of Saul Alinsky. So is, by the way, Barack Obama. Bill Clinton was an operative with the Students for the Democratic Society, which wasn't Democrat, it was communist. All right, I know I'm yelling. So let me just back off just a sec for this brief. So yesterday, Donald Trump identified 11 individuals that he said were on his list for nomination to the Supreme Court of the United States. Without the Supreme Court, without true constitutional conservatives on the Supreme Court, we'll lose the Constitution. If we lose the Constitution, we'll lose the nation. So, in my identification of the necessity to preserve and defend the Constitution, and that we have from Donald Trump something that I asked for 4. He gave us 11. They say, well, he's a liar and he'll never own up to it. He'll never live up to his word. Well, if he doesn't, we at least have something to judge him by. But I'll guarantee you that the 11 people that he selected as his potential nominees to the Supreme Court and to the federal courts, that if we don't have enough changes in the Supreme Court, we wouldn't. That at least we know damn good and well that Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders would not pick a one of those individuals that he's identified. So you say, well, he'll never do it. Well, he might not. But the fact of the matter is, he might. He has gathered around himself people that do reflect our values, our conservative values and principles. I don't care if you don't believe he's a conservative. I don't know if he is or not. He says that he has adopted conservative principles and he's abandoned his liberalism. Okay. But what's more important than anything else going into this election is we know what Hillary Clinton would do to the Constitution. We know what the Democrats would do to the Constitution of the United States. We know that the Supreme Court of the United States under Anthony Kennedy and the 4 liberals on the left, that they do not sit under the Constitution. They tear the Constitution down. They won't have it above them because they believe that they are above the Constitution. They say, we're the ones who interpret the Constitution, so we're above it. We say what it means. Well, that's never been the case in the United States, certainly not in the way that it is today. So let me hit the first point first, and this is going to be real quick. You say that if you're a conservative and you vote for Donald Trump, you can't be a conservative. Okay, I don't care. Call me whatever you want to. But my goal is to preserve and defend the Constitution. My goal is to safeguard the Constitution against the enemies that would tear it down. And the only way that we do that, is by having good, solid constitutionalists nominated to the Supreme Court. Not activist judges that want to sit above the Constitution and tinker in it. Now, that's the first point. Second point is this. I want you to understand just how dangerous a situation that we are in today. Do you know how to amend the Constitution of the United States? Do you know what the process is? If you don't, it's easy to find out what the real process for amending the Constitution is. Go to Article 5 of the Constitution and read in there what are the methods and means to amend the Constitution in case there comes a day that we decide that we need to make some adjustments in the Constitution. Now, conservatives recognize that there are times that we have to insert into the Constitution amendments to take care of abuses that may be foisted upon the American people by the leftists. So there are reasons to amend the Constitution. Let me tell you, none of them. It is nowhere in Article 5 does it say that one of the means of amending the Constitution is to allow 5 lawyers, judges, justices, if you want to call them that, because 5 of them, by majority opinion, to figure out a way to pry open some other portion of the Constitution and insert their dogma into the Constitution. That is not a means of amending the Constitution. And Anthony Kennedy and his 4 associate friends on the left did just that on June 26, 2015, when they found in the Constitution a new right that stripped away the definition of marriage and they made up a definition of their own in direct contravention of the Constitution of the United States. Why do I say contravention? It's because in the Bill of Rights, the 10th Amendment says that only the powers delegated to the federal government may be exercised by the federal government. All other powers are reserved to the people in the states. And what Anthony Kennedy and his associates did is they illegally, now let me emphasize this, they illegally decided, and in fact, in Anthony Kennedy's majority opinion that he wrote, he said, "We believe that the people of the United States have evolved to a place where we can accept same-sex marriage." Well, evolution is not in the Constitution. And if we did come to a place where we had evolved, as he likes to say, to a place where we would accept same-sex marriage, there is a process in Article 5 that we could have properly done that. But Democrats don't believe in properly doing that. They believe that they're above the Constitution. And so they decided to tear it down and by judicial fiat strike down the laws of all of the states and to mandate at the federal level that we all have to accept same-sex marriage as being equal with traditional marriage. Now let me tell you something. We didn't define marriage when we established the United States of America. And our federal government doesn't have the authority to redefine marriage. What they have done is they have stricken the definition of marriage. So now you know what definition you have for marriage, so that you have some idea of what is proper to be understood as marriage in the United States of America. You know, nothing. There is no definition for the institution of marriage, and we already have people that are committed as those who practice homosexual behaviors. We already have people who believe that they are married to inanimate objects and to pets. Why? Because we've got idiots who are opposed, that are enemies of the Constitution, sitting in the Supreme Court of the United States of America. They are enemies of the United States of America. Donald Trump said, there are 11 people, and I will choose from these people. And those people have a record. Now, you can call me anything you want to. You can call me a liberal. But for the sake of the Constitution, I'll go with the person that has already indicated that he will nominate a true conservative to sit on the court. Because no matter what else the president and the Congress does, if we have a solid Supreme Court that will look at the Constitution and try it like a plumb line, put every other issue against the plumb line of the Constitution, then we'll come out all right. But if we do not, if we allow further erosion of the Supreme Court, then we will no longer have a Constitution. And it won't be for just a generation. It won't be for 4 generations. We will lose the Constitution forever. And we will lose the United States of America forever. So that is my brief for today. If you think that somehow or the other, by holding the line and saying, I'll never vote for Donald Trump. Well, let me tell you, there are only going to be 2 selections for a president in November. One is going to be a sworn enemy of the Constitution. And the other will be Donald Trump. So call me what you want to, but I'll defend the Constitution to the day I die. I've proved it in the past, and I'll prove it again in November. But you do what you want to. But I hope that you'll join me and be a patriot enough to defend the Constitution. Now I've got to go do some PT, physical training for those that are unfamiliar with Army life. I'm the old Army. I'm not the Army that's run by a guy that's only position only there because he practices homosexual behaviors, what he does with men in bed. That's that's what's going on right now. The Department of the Army is now put in the hands of a pervert. So I'm of the old Army. I'm retired, but I still live the life, and I'm still around to protect the Constitution. I hope you'll join me. So that's the end of this brief on your feet.